Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to speak at an event that was organized and founded by white nationalist Nick Fuentes. And when she received some backlash for speaking at this event, she pretended to not know who Nick Fuentes was, which is laughable. Now,
I will agree with that, but that's not a good enough answer. I agree completely with that. I'm not a Young Turks person. It doesn't matter. That is agreeable. That was the problem I had with her response. You're at the event. You're speaking at the event. What do you mean you don't know about his ideas? I mean, we don't know the ideas of every idea of every person. So I understand from that standpoint.
We get to her comments and her speech and all of that. I think it's really important to take a good hard look at some of the nonsense coming from Nick Fuentes just moments before Marjorie Taylor Greene took the stage to speak herself. Let's watch.
You want to know the secret? To borrow a phrase from a friend of mine, our secret sauce here, it's these young white men. Yeah! That's what we call the secret ingredient. America and the world has forgotten about them, but not us. You know, they say about America, they say.
So this is the identity stuff that I don't, it's just not a path that I go down. But that's why when you talk about do I agree or disagree with somebody, you got to lay out their ideas. There are other ideas from Nick Fuentes that I would absolutely agree with. This is not even an idea, it's more of an approach. It's not even for me. What he said here is the secret sauce to his movement. He knows his movement, not me, is young white men. It's not even for me I don't have the stats on his movement. It's not even a statement for me to agree or disagree with. Hey, that's what it sounds like to them. Now, notice he didn't say whites only. That's not what he said. He didn't say I hire only white people or the only people in this event are white. I said Jesse Lee Peterson actually spoke at this event. I'm going to end with a clip from him.
Diversity is our strength, you know. And I look at China and I look at Russia. Can we give a round of applause for Russia?
This is weird. I don't get it. Maybe there's something I'm ignorant about here, but I don't understand the applauding for Putin. That is just bizarre to me.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And now they're going on about Russia and Vladimir Putin is Hitler, and they say that's not a good thing. And I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that, but.
And that's the clip there that I talked about in the other video. And I don't know if it was a slip up or what. And, they started laughing. It's an off-color joke, and you earn your label based on jokes like that, is what I would say. And it's just not my style to have a joke like that. But I think it might have been a slip up, because if you look at him, he looked kind of awkward. It wasn't like he had that one-liner locked and loaded, in my opinion.
What other way is there to say it? Of course we know that's a terrible comparison.
Now, I don't know if I allegedly didn't know anything about Nick Fuentes or this event, and I was about to go up and speak after hearing that. You know what I would do? I'd be like, no thanks, sorry, I'm leaving. But that's not what Marjorie Taylor.
That's fair. That wouldn't be my approach, but that's fair. I think she's completely fair if she says that. Just there's nothing unfair or disingenuous about saying that. It's just not her type of thing.
Taylor Greene did. She watched that. She saw what was going on during this event. The American First Political Action Conference, that's the title of the event. And she's like, awesome, I jump in it. She goes and she gives her speech. And then when she gets backlash, she's like, oh, me? I didn't know what I was doing. I never know what I'm doing.
I love this Marjorie Taylor Greene impression here. This is funny. This is Anna being funny here. I don't know if she was even trying to be funny, but I love this Marjorie Taylor Greene impression here. And I agree with her. That's not a good answer, but this is hilarious.
Backlash, she's like, oh, Me? I didn't know what I was doing. I never know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll give you the details of all of that in just a second. Cenk, go ahead.
So there's two interesting things that come out of that speech by Fuentes. First of all, if you didn't know going in, to Anna's point, you certainly knew by the time you heard him speak. And remember, this was not before the invasion. This was after Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
Now, secondly,
that part doesn't resonate with me at all. I don't care about Ukraine or Russia now. I don't want the people of any country to suffer. But when you talk about taking sides from the government of Russia or Ukraine, both of them can kick rocks to me. I don't care. Suffering, don't want to see any people suffer. But Cenk has a point here.
I said that a lot of the right wing in this country is rooting for Putin because they like that he is a white warlord and that he doesn't care about woke culture. He hates the same people that they hate, and they like him because he's white. And here's a room full of white supremacists literally chanting Putin, Putin here in America. If they were trying to prove me right, they couldn't have done a better job.
He has a point. I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with Cenk here, but he definitely has a clip to prove that kind of controversial tweet that he was trending for the other day. If you're going to chant Putin, you're basically feeding into justifying Cenk. So I don't have a problem with anything they said there. I think they had a good discussion about it, even though I don't agree with them on everything. Here was Marjorie Taylor Greene's response.
But I'm glad to talk to you about this. I do not know Nick Fuentes. I've never heard him speak. I've never seen a video. I don't know what his views are, so I'm not aligned with anything that may be controversial. What I can tell you is I went to his event last night to address his very large following, because that is it's a very young following, and it's a generation I'm extremely concerned about.
It's a white nationalist group.
Excuse me a minute. I'll tell you exactly why I went. I went to talk to them about America First policies, and I talked to them about what's important for our country going forward. Now, in regards to Russia, Putin is a murderer, and he should have never invaded Ukraine. What he is doing is completely wrong. I stand with our NATO member allies, and I'm completely against this war.
It's a white nationalist
Excuse
group.
me, I'm going to finish. Everything that he's doing is wrong. He's killing people over and over. So I'm staunchly against it, and I'm staunchly against Vladimir Putin and his invasion of Ukraine. Another thing that's extremely important for me to say is the whole reason this is happening is because Joe Biden is a weak president. Now America is a weak country, and our entire world is falling apart, and we're seeing war erupt, which did not happen under President Trump because we had peace through strength. So this is something that we've got to really focus on, and I'm appalled at our country for putting America last this way, making us depend on China, Russia, and foreign countries for our critical supplies and our energy.
Do you endorse Nick Fuentes' views?
Excuse me, I don't know what his views are. I've never.
He's a white nationalist.
I do not endorse those views. The reason why I went was to talk to the audience, just like I've talked to many different audiences. I've talked to Democrat union workers earlier this week. I've talked here at CPAC. I talked to his people who were there. It wasn't an alignment. It was to talk about getting everyone together to save our country. And I think that's what's
Could I ask,
most
why did you take the stage, though?
An appearance is an
After he said that
endorsement.
Young white men.
So her comments there, it wasn't all bad from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And this is a difficult thing, so I don't want to pass this along like this is just some easy thing to do. She's navigating an area that I haven't seen any politician really navigate in my lifetime. So she's kind of like a pioneer in this. And this first part of this is where the mistake came, is where she said, well, I don't know his views. I don't know his views. My response is, we've had this discussion in our country. This is the discussion of the First Amendment. I'm willing to go build with anybody. If hypothetically, if Nicole Hannah-Jones and I actually exchanged tweets before, I thought we had decent, rational discussions until she blocked me, and I don't think I did anything, egregious, but it's her prerogative. But my point is, I would love to talk to Nick Fuentes. I'd love to talk to Nicole Hannah-Jones. I'd love to talk to Jamel Hill. I'd love to talk to Jason Whitlock. I believe in the First Amendment. Why are you so scared of a 23-year-old and his ideas? Me going to talk to somebody is not an endorsement, sir, and don't try to make it one. What does that even mean to endorse somebody like I endorse all of anybody? I support Andrew Yang. Do I agree with all of his ideas? No. I support Tulsi Gabbard. Do I agree with all of her ideas? No. You watching this channel, do you agree with all of my ideas? Hell no. That'd be impossible. So what are we talking about? I believe in the First Amendment. That's what I believe in. And the reason why we have it is to exchange ideas. And that's where she got into. So take the part where she's like, I don't know Nick Fuentes out. She actually had some good stuff in there. She's like, I spoke to Democratic-based unions the other day. I spoke to another group the other day. I wish she would have even said, I've had my disagreements with Ilhan Omar and AOC. I'd love to speak with them and see if we can build on something. Let's start with where we agree. You're worried about Nick Fuentes, but we have open racists on Twitter and YouTube, and we have open racist language in our Constitution when we talk about the word equity. And we have in Texas, Governor Abbott, who I am not a fan of. I never heard him speak about this race-first approach to medical treatments to the pandemic. That's racist. And you're worried about a 23-year-old? Man, get that microphone out of my face. You need to have a stronger response to that, and the response needs to be based on the First Amendment. So let me look at the comments here. Let me remove this. Somebody, Mimo, thanks for stopping by, said Nick is a white supremacist. He's against interracial marriage and the state of Israel. He would fit right in with the squad. I don't care. My wife is white. I'm obviously for interracial marriage. I don't care. He can have his views. The First Amendment is very simple. It's not, well, when you break it down to this, this scenario, you can believe whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, as long as you don't infringe on someone else's rights. And that's decided through the court system. Or I can personally decide that, hey, your belief infringes on my rights. But to me, I haven't heard Nick Fuentes say that, but let's say that's all true. I don't care. What does that have to do? What does that mean? So I'm going to denounce a whole person based on that? If he's against it, he's against it. I'm not. Obviously, I have a different point of view. Like, where are we at as a country right now? Like this thing that happened at the, there was this, I don't want to get too much in a side note, but these protests at these universities where they don't even let the other side come in and speak, like Matt Walsh and other people. Like, well, what are we doing? Let's have a debate. Let's have Nick Fuentes debate somebody. Have him come on. He'll debate anybody, basically. And then people can decide where they fit. If Nick Fuentes said, hey, I want you to come speak on my channel, my first thing would be like, let's set up a meeting, let's talk, let's build and see if there's something that makes sense here. What are you about? Let's talk about it and see is there somewhere where we agree? Let's talk about it and see what we can do. Same, no difference to somebody who agrees with critical race theory. And my style is, I'm not really looking into yelling debates and arguments. It's just a waste of time to me. If we can talk about where we agree, like I talked about, I went on with Jen Perlman. She's populist left. I'm somewhere right of her. Absolutely, I'm fine with that. I'm going to try and go on with libertarians and talk about where we agree. You're trying to hurt the discussion in our country. And there's only one group that benefits. It's those who want to control things. The thing that would scare people the most is to see people who are in the middle side with Ilhan Omar in some areas and Nick Fuentes on others. Or actually find areas where Nick Fuentes and someone like Rashida Tlaib agree on. That's where the power comes from.